A chill wind howled outside. Rain lashed against the windows. Dr. Sophia Ellis sat alone, a fire crackling in the hearth. Her eyes scanned the letter, its elegant script stark against the black paper.
Ravenswood Manor, midnight.
A shiver ran down her spine. Intrigue warred with apprehension. She had to go. The iron gates groaned open. Sophia's car crawled up the muddy drive. Ravenswood Manor loomed, a gothic silhouette against the stormy sky. Gargoyles perched on the roof, their shadows dancing in the flickering lamplight. She stepped out, a wave of unease washing over her. The old house seemed to watch her, its windows like vacant eyes. Taking a deep breath, Sophia ascended the steps and rapped on the heavy oak door. Silence. She knocked again, louder this time. The door creaked open, revealing darkness within. A musty smell hit her. Dust motes danced in the single beam of moonlight slicing through the foyer. Sophia stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the silence.
Hello?
Her voice sounded small in the vast emptiness. A floorboard creaked above, then whispers, faint and ethereal, seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. They spoke of shadows and secrets, of a forgotten past. Sophia's heart pounded. She moved deeper into the house, her hand trailing along the cold stone wall. The whispers grew louder, swirling around her like the wind. They seemed to beckon her forward, deeper into the manor's shadowy embrace. In the flickering candlelight, the library seemed frozen in time. Books lined the walls, their leather spines cracked with age. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the worn furniture. In the center of the room sat an antique table, and upon it a puzzle box. The box was exquisite, crafted from dark, polished wood and inlaid with silver. Intricate carvings covered its surface, depicting strange symbols and mythical creatures. Sophia reached out, her fingers tracing the intricate designs. As she touched the box, the whispers intensified, their tone shifting to one of urgency. She had to open it.
The box clicked open, revealing its hidden treasures. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a collection of objects: a tarnished silver locket, a yellowed map, and a leather-bound journal.
Sophia carefully lifted the locket. It was cold to the touch, its surface engraved with an intricate design. She pried it open, revealing a miniature portrait of a young woman with hauntingly familiar eyes.
Next, she unfolded the map. It depicted the grounds of Ravenswood Manor, but with strange symbols and markings that made little sense.
Finally, she reached for the journal. Its pages were filled with spidery handwriting, the ink faded with time. As Sophia began to read, she was transported back in time, into the heart of a mystery centuries old. The journal belonged to Emily, a young woman who had lived at Ravenswood Manor generations ago. Her life, though seemingly ordinary, was anything but. Her words painted a vivid picture of life within the grand house, capturing the elegance and charm of a bygone era. The daily routines, the grand parties, and the quiet moments of reflection were all meticulously documented. But they also hinted at a darkness that lurked beneath the surface, a sinister presence that seemed to watch from the shadows.
Emily wrote of strange occurrences, unexplained noises that echoed through the empty corridors, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Shadows moved across the walls with no apparent source, and the air was thick with an eerie atmosphere that made every creak and whisper seem amplified. She believed the house to be haunted, its very walls imbued with a malevolent energy that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day.
One entry in particular caught Sophia's eye. It was more detailed and frantic than the others, filled with fear and desperation. It described a séance Emily had conducted with some of the other residents, an attempt to contact the spirits that haunted Ravenswood. They had hoped to find peace, to understand the source of the disturbances. According to Emily, the séance had gone horribly wrong, unleashing a force that had terrifying consequences. The spirits they contacted were not benevolent. They were angry and vengeful. The entry ended abruptly, leaving Sophia with a chilling sense of foreboding. She couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness Emily had written about was still present, lurking in the shadows of Ravenswood Manor. Guided by Emily's journal, Sophia discovered a hidden chamber concealed behind a bookshelf in the library. The journal had hinted at a secret room, but Sophia had never imagined it would be so well hidden. The air in the chamber was heavy and still. thick with the weight of forgotten secrets. It felt as though the room had been sealed off for centuries, untouched by time.
A dust-covered furniture sat in the center of the room, illuminated by a single shaft of moonlight. The light cast eerie shadows, making the room feel even more mysterious and otherworldly. On the wall hung a large portrait, its paint cracked and faded. The portrait seemed to watch over the room, a silent guardian of its secrets. It depicted a man in Elizabethan garb, his eyes boring into Sophia's with an unsettling intensity. The man's gaze seemed to follow her every move, adding to the room's eerie atmosphere.
As Sophia approached the portrait, she noticed a faint humming sound coming from behind it. The sound was barely audible, but it drew her closer, compelling her to investigate further. Curiosity overcoming her apprehension, she reached out and pressed against the canvas. The texture of the old painting felt rough under her fingers, but she pushed on, determined to uncover the source of the sound. To her surprise, the portrait swung inward, revealing a narrow passageway hidden behind. The passage was dark and foreboding, but the humming sound was now louder, almost beckoning her to enter. The humming sound grew louder as Sophia cautiously stepped into the darkness. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead, and ventured deeper into the unknown. The passageway opened into a small circular chamber. The walls seemed to close in, creating an oppressive atmosphere that made it hard to breathe. The air was thick, almost tangible, as if the chamber itself was alive and watching. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and flickering torches cast eerie shadows on the stone walls. The smoke swirled in intricate patterns, almost as if it was dancing to an unseen rhythm, adding to the chamber's mystique. In the center of the chamber stood an altar draped in black velvet. The fabric shimmered in the torchlight, giving it an almost otherworldly glow, as if it was a portal to another realm. Upon it lay a collection of strange and disturbing objects: animal bones, dried herbs, and a ceremonial dagger. Each item seemed to hold a story of its own, a piece of a dark puzzle that was slowly coming together. The humming sound was almost deafening now, vibrating through the air with an unsettling intensity. It felt as if the very walls were resonating with the sound, amplifying its eerie effect.
Sophia's eyes were drawn to a large book that lay open on the altar. The book seemed ancient, its pages yellowed with age, and the cover worn from countless hands that had touched it over the centuries. Its pages were filled with arcane symbols and diagrams, written in a language she didn't recognize. The symbols seemed to shift and change as she looked at them, as if they were alive and trying to communicate with her. As she leaned closer to examine the book, she realized with a jolt that the symbols were moving, pulsing with an eerie light. It was as if the book was a living entity, breathing and pulsating with a life of its own. She had stumbled upon the heart of Ravenswood's darkness, a place where ancient rituals were performed and dark forces were summoned. The air was thick with the weight of countless rituals that had been performed here, each one leaving a mark on the very fabric of the chamber.
The figure in the portrait was not just a painting, it was a door to a hidden chamber. The chamber was dark, lit by a single flickering candle. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of incense. In the center of the room stood an altar, and on the altar lay a book.
Sophia approached cautiously. The book was bound in ancient leather, its pages filled with strange symbols. She reached out and opened it. As she did so, the candle flickered and died, plunging the chamber into darkness. A cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the torches in the passageway. Sophia was alone in the darkness, surrounded by the whispers.
Sophia awoke with a gasp. She was lying on the floor of the library, the puzzle box still clutched in her hand. The sun was streaming through the windows, casting long shadows across the room. Had it all been a dream? A figment of her imagination?
She looked down at the puzzle box, its intricate carvings seeming to mock her. She didn't have all the answers, but she knew one thing. Ravenswood Manor held secrets, dark and ancient secrets, and she was determined to uncover them all. The whispers still echoed in her mind, beckoning her back into the shadows, and Sophia knew that she would answer their call.